Hey, what's up everybody? Good morning. This is a random occurrence for Morning Scone presented by Boudreaux's Mix. So I actually already did Morning Scone and I'm having a lot of trouble uploading the video to the YouTube channel. So actually here at therapy with my son, Drew, he gets therapy on most every morning, but he gets physical therapy on Friday mornings. And so I'm just kind of like sitting in here waiting for him to do his therapy. So I figured, hey, let me just go outside and do a live version of Morning Scone. So I hope this is good. Hey, it's presented by Boudreaux's Mix. So boudreauxsmix.com, the Bloody Mary, the Margarita Mix, tell you about it every day. Y'all check out Boudreaux's Mix. Proud sponsor here at Morning Scone, and I appreciate him very much. So real quick, I'll keep this somewhat brief today. I apologize for the shaky camera and the fact that I'm just sitting outside here of therapy spot, but anyway, makes for a fun time. So AJ Labas and Hilliard will not pitch in this regional. That's sort of devastating news for LSU. So I mean, really, they have one roadmap to win this regional, and there isn't really a detour. They've got to win 3 games. They can't go to 4, because if you had Hilliard, Labas to a lesser degree, because you haven't really been counting on him anyway, but if you had Hilliard, you knew you could go Bush, Hess, Hilliard, and then if you needed to, you could do the Beck plus whole staff, and even if you needed to, Gilbert plus whole staff. And so you had options to get through 5 games if you needed it. Now you don't have those options. So you've really got Bush tonight, you've got Hess in game 2, and then you've got the Beck plus whole staff option in game 3. You might mention Cam Sanders. I really think he's going to be first out of the bullpen tonight, provided LSU's in a close game. They're going to go, you know, Paul is such a hot hand guy, and so I really think that they'll go from Bush to Cam Sanders, and plus that lets you go lefty to righty to keep that offense off balance. So I'm curious to see what they do, but that really is their only option at this point, is to sweep through 3 games. You know, I could have made the case that, you know, this Oregon State team, you know, their deficiency really is their pitching staff. They got really good frontline guys, obviously, with Heimlich and then with Femmel. But after that, they're not as deep in their rotation as they were a year ago. So yeah, I could have made a case where, if you're able, even in a loser's bracket, you force that final deciding game with Oregon State. I mean, they're kind of piecing it together the same way you would be, so, you know, anything could happen. This just doesn't feel like that's, you know, a realistic option at this point. So you know, best case really tonight is go pound the baseball, hope Nick Bush gets you 6 or get you into the 6th. Cam Sanders can hand the ball off to Ted Peterson in the 9th with a lead, and you win tonight. The other best case scenario would be fork 'em demons. I mean, pull hard for Northwestern State tonight. If, you know, Oregon State's pitching backwards, so they're going to throw Bryce Femmel, who's a really good arm, but they're going to save Heimlich. And if Northwestern State can go out there and find a way to win this game, then you put Oregon State at a disadvantage, because obviously they'd throw Heimlich in an elimination game tomorrow, and then provided, you know, you win, you know, they have to come back and beat you twice without their 2 best arms. So I mean, if you really want to, and it's obviously rare, but it's not completely unprecedented. Last year Arkansas threw Blaine Knight in their first game in their 1-4 matchup against Missouri State, and Blaine Knight lost. So now Arkansas wound up coming back and winning that regional out of the losers bracket. But it's not completely unprecedented for something like that to happen. It would be highly, highly unlikely, but not completely unprecedented. So we'll see if maybe Northwestern State can do LSU some favors and beat Oregon State tonight. But again, but you're grasping at high improbabilities with stuff like that. So you know, I mentioned the roadmap or the blueprint, however you want to look at it. I'd say first is, you know, get Bush tonight to get you off to a great start, get you into the 6, hand it off to Cam Sanders and Peterson, and then you have to have Zach Hess pitch the way he did last week against Arkansas last Saturday. I mean, he's just got to be what he was, where he gave you 7 innings and was no walks, 10 strikeouts, 3 hits, 1 run. He just gave up the solo homer. I mean, that's what you're going to have to do, and then ultimately make it a bullpen game in the 8th and 9th and see if you can find a way to muster up some offense and win a 2-1, 3-2 type ball game on the road against a guy who's a top half of the first round draft pick in Luke Heimlich. So, and if you do that, then someone's got to come back and beat you twice. And even though you don't have a great staff with great depth, I should say, maybe Beck is that option plus whole staff, whatever it may be. Maybe you could piece together Beck, Sanders if he could come back, Fontenot. At that point, I'd imagine sort of an all hands on deck type approach to win the regional. But that's kind of your only option at this point, is to find a way to go 3-0 in this regional. And LSU didn't sweep a single series away from, they didn't win a single series away from home all year. It's hard to imagine them going winning 3 games in a row like that. But it's a fun time of year, man. Just throw out the ball and let's see how it rolls for LSU tonight and throughout this weekend. It is unfortunate about Hilliard and Labas, and a lot of people have asked, what's really going on. I really think, from what I've heard, Paul and Alan Dunn they're operating out of an abundance of caution. There's nothing structurally wrong with Mikhail Hilliard at this point. It's fatigue. It's a 150-pound guy who's thrown 72 innings, which is the most he's ever thrown in his life. And when you start talking about shoulder soreness, that's where you don't mess around, because they've got a Tommy John, which is obviously a great option for elbow issues, but they really don't have anything figured out for that shoulder, man. So that's ruined a lot of careers. If you got a young guy who's saying he's got shoulder tightness or soreness, I mean, you don't mess around with that. So I think it's absolutely the right decision, for his future to sit him. So we'll see if LSU can somehow make some noise over these next couple of days. But it starts tonight against San Diego State. So see if they can go get this one. And the other tidbit is about LSU basketball, and you have to forgive me because as I mentioned, I'm sitting out front of where my son goes to therapy recording this, so I don't have the kids' names. But Will Wade, LSU announced last evening that they've added 2 JUCO signees, a point guard and a 6'9" forward. And I love this for 2 reasons primarily. Number one, it doesn't do you any good at all to have empty seats on the bench. So if Will Wade can identify guys with a certain skill set that match what he wants to do, I mean, he did this last year, right? I mean, you saw guys a guy like Darrell Edwards come in, be it JUCO or grad transfer, whatever it may be. Randy Onwasser was another example as a grad transfer who came in, and you looked, and he wasn't a super dynamic player, but he had a dimension to his game that Will Wade liked. He had buy-in for what Wade was trying to do. These aren't players that Wade inherited. They're players that he recruited. So that they have buy-in for his sort of maniacal style, and I say that in the most loving way possible for my good bud Will Wade. But so I do like it from that regard. If nothing else, you got 5 fouls, and you got guys that are going to have buy-in. So you got bodies, and I'd rather have bodies than empty chairs on the bench. But just specifically, when you talk about the point guard they signed, he's got 2 years of eligibility left, so maybe not in the 18-19 season, but as a senior the following year, you're going to lose Skylar Mays. Of course, you'll lose Darrell Edwards, and Tremont Waters may well go to the NBA. So you could be talking about a situation with Javonte Smart and this kid as your backcourt tandem 2 years from now. So get him some experience this year, and then kind of becomes a dude the next year. I guess that could be the idea. And then the other kid that they signed is a 6'9" forward, and he shot 40% from 3. But the other thing I really like about it is Wade's in the signee paperwork. Wade said that, or in the release, Wade said that they like him for his rim protection and shot blocking ability. I mean, just understand what LSU was a year ago. They were awful in the SEC in rebounding just because they didn't have length, and they were awful defending the three-point line because they didn't have length. I mean, your length last year was Aaron Epps and Dwap Reith, and Epps was more of a perimeter player in a big man's body, and Reith, while he developed a fantastic skill set relative to what he was when he came in, you just didn't have great rebounding and rim protection. So now you think about this team and you go, okay, well, you got Cavell Bigby-Williams, the Oregon transfer, who's eligible. You got Naz Reid and Emmett Williams, so you got some length down in the block. And now you've added guys like this, and you go, all right, well, now you've got some length down low, but also to defend the perimeter. I mean, think about last year where you had, a guy like Colin Sexton, and you're trying to guard a guy who's 6'6" and athletic with a guy who's 6'1". Just there's a reason why LSU struggled so much to rebound and defend the perimeter, because they just didn't have length. And this team, if nothing else, is going to physically compensate for their deficiencies of a year ago. Now let's see if Will Wade can coach them up and get them to play together as one and all that stuff. I mean, you got a lot of new pieces, so that goes without saying. But you can see how Will Wade is building his roster, how he's addressed some of their deficiencies, and I like it a lot. So Tiger basketball added a couple of JUCO pieces, officially their signings, so they got a full roster, and that's really good to see. So exciting times for hoops in Baton Rouge. So, all right, let me put a button on this. I'll remind you again about Boudreaux's. I don't have the bottles in front of me. I apologize for that to Boudreaux's, to Darren and the guys. But as I mentioned, there's a reason why right now. But so BoudreauxMix.com, BoudreauxMix.com in Baton Rouge. It's available at Alexander's, Calandro's, and Calvin's. And if where you shop they don't have it, go to the manager of that store and demand that they carry Boudreaux's Mix. It's a great local product. I actually partook last night in the margarita mix. It was enjoyable. I'm a head sweater. If I ever sample something that's really tart, like lemonade or tart candy, my head will sweat. And I don't just mean like I get a sweaty brow. I mean like my head looks like I just got out of a swimming pool. It's full disclosure here, people. I love you, so I'm going to tell you honest how I feel about things. And so sometimes with margaritas, I have that issue. If margarita mix is too tart, too sweet, my head will sweat and I just can't drink it. Did not have that problem with Boudreaux's. It was super fantastic, so I would highly recommend. Now, I'm not a Bloody Mary guy, but they got the margarita and the Bloody Mary mix. But the cool thing about the Bloody Mary mix is that you don't have to go empty your whole pantry. You just shake that bottle and pour it over ice, add your vodka, and you're ready to roll. So don't empty your whole pantry, to go make a Bloody Mary when you have the Boudreaux's Bloody Mary mix. So try it out, and be sure to let our friends over at Boudreaux's know that you saw it here on Morning Scone. All right, y'all, let me put a button on this thing. I'll head back in and see if Drew's about to finish up his therapy. In the meantime, y'all have a fantastic day, and we will be back tomorrow for Morning Scone, and hopefully I'll be back in the friendly confines of my office. I see there's a lot of people who are watching this live who just joined. I recorded Morning Scone earlier today, and I was just having a massive problem uploading it to YouTube. So I was like, you know what? I was sitting here waiting for Drew to finish up therapy. I said, let me just go sit on the stump here outside on the curb and just record this episode. So, all right, go Tigers. Let's see if the baseball team can go get a win tonight, and then we'll talk about what they might do against Oregon State or Northwestern State tomorrow. Okay, y'all have a great one.